Ever see a podcast or a YouTube show suddenly go dark and just vanish after it started in on a big brand deal? Or maybe a creator forced to apologize on air for something they didn't even do, something the brand they had the deal with did that turned into a big thing and affected everybody? Well, these are just a couple of the ways that brand partnerships can go sideways. And when it happens fast. In this episode, we are diving into the fine print, the pitfalls, and the power moves you need to know before you sign on the dotted line. Because done right, a brand deal can be a game changer. Done wrong, it could tank your show. So let's get into it. Here we go. Hi, friends. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and this is Legit Podcast Pro, where we help you build a more impactful, influential, and income-generating podcast without legal headaches. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep you protected and profitable as we start to talk about brand deals gone wrong. Let's start with some talk about real brand partnerships and how they can bring in serious money, grow your credibility and your reach, but if you're not careful, they can cost you more than they pay. Let's look at some examples that show just how messy things can get. First off, here's one. Highly successful true crime podcaster and a wellness brand. A big check, right? But the contract had this vague exclusivity clause that said no competing endorsements will be allowed. Well, the creator didn't think that a mental health app counted as a competitor, but the brand disagreed. They pulled the deal, they asked for their money back, and to top it off, they tried to control which guests were going to be allowed on the show. So the lesson here is that you have to spell out exactly what these terms like exclusive mean. Define it, limit it, and make sure that early termination doesn't leave you in the lurch. Next up is a startup YouTuber and a software company. The company wanted branded snippets for their own socials, and that's fine. But what she got with her show, her content was re-edited. Her face was stripped out, her words used as ad copy, and that was all uploaded as a new show on the brand's channel. Now, she didn't sign up to be a spokesperson, but the contract sort of said otherwise. So the lesson here is you have to set limits on how your content can be reused and where it can appear, how long it can run, whether there is reuse fees or if they run it again or something like that, whether your voice or image can be used in the brand's ads or endorsements other than or separate from the content you make with them. So a healthy deal really should be built on clarity and balance. So in a well-structured sponsorship brand kind of a deal, here's what you should expect to see. First off, the deliverables. What exactly are you agreeing to create? How many ads? How many of each kind of ads? Those kinds of things. Does the brand have approval rights? Can they review and reject content? And if so, under what timeline? And do they give you notes and then you get to go fix it or what? A payment schedule is super important. Always be sure that you set specific dates, not vague, ambiguous kinds of promises. And then there's the usage rights. How and where and for how long can the brand use your content on their channels, in their socials, on their streams? And what happens if they want to extend that time period? The exclusivity clauses, we talked about that already, make them narrow and clear. And here are a few sort of major red flags to watch for. First off, ambiguous terms altogether, but specifically with that exclusivity, because that could choke off future partnerships and additional revenue streams that you may be counting on. Unlimited usage rights is another red flag. If you lose control of your voice and your content, you will regret it. So make sure you know what the limitations and parameters are. Another big red flag is the pay when we get paid clause. No, you are not their bank. You're not in the business of lending them money with which to promote their business. They are to pay you for the content when you deliver it or within a very reasonable time after that. Don't fall into this trap of tying your income to their ability to close deals and make the revenue happen. Missing indemnity clauses is another thing that you need to watch out for. You could be liable for the sponsor's screw-ups if you don't have an indemnity clause that protects you. And likewise, they may want an indemnity clause that protects them. So be sure you know what you're signing. Indemnity is that hold harmless language that you sometimes see. Implied endorsements are another red flag. Audiences will assume that you are vouching for what you promote. So don't assume that the brand is going to do the right thing. Contracts exist because sometimes they don't. So be sure you include an exculpatory clause, some way of getting out of the deal if their brand gets tarnished or causes a reputation harm to those that are associated with it. Things like that, maybe suspending or even terminating their right to use the content if something goes wrong that exposes them or you to ridicule. And that's, again, another two-way street. So now let's talk about influencer style sponsorships. That's where you're not just reading ad copy, but you're giving sort of your personal stamp of approval. This can have really big legal consequences. Here in the US, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, requires clear and conspicuous disclosure anytime there's a financial or an economic relationship. So if you're endorsing a product, even passively, you need to let your audience know that that's a sponsored relationship or there's money changing hands. You say things like, this episode is sponsored by, or I've partnered with, or they're a paid supporter of the show, or they've provided me these things for free to review and talk to you about. And in your contracts, you should specify that your role is that of a content creator, not a brand rep. And so you're not going to be beholden to them for exact wording. Make sure you prohibit edits that make it seem like you're endorsing without consent, and make sure you limit how long your image and words can be used in association with the brand. A bonus here is to require a clause that says your audience data isn't going to be harvested or sold without your permission. Now, affiliate deals are also a lucrative form of deals, but don't treat them casually. Those same rules about disclosures apply. So if you're dropping affiliate links in your show notes, website, YouTube descriptions, things like that, again, clear and conspicuous disclosures where you say, this is an affiliate link, which means I may earn a commission when you purchase. You can go on to say, but it won't cost you anything more, so I'm really grateful for your support. Understand the tracking terms. How are you credited for the sale? For how long? When? To what extent? What's the commission rate? Those kinds of things. And watch for minimum payout thresholds, because you may never see a dime if your audience is small. So if they're going to wait until you've earned $1,000, well, that could take a really long time if it ever gets there. So you want to make sure that there's a cap or an outside date for those payments, even if you're not meeting a minimum threshold. And in your content, be sure that you are still providing real value that your audience wants and needs. If each episode feels nothing more than a pitch, well, that's going to erode the trust that you've built with your audience. So be really thoughtful and careful. The best practice is to use affiliate partnerships with companies that you actually like and believe in and whose products you actually use. You'll sell more, you'll be directly honest about things with your audience, and you will stay in a place of real integrity. Your audience will respect and appreciate that. The best brand deals aren't one-offs, they are relationships, and so you need to build and nurture them. Start small, one campaign with very clear expectations. Don't bite off more than you can chew or create expectations that are going to be hard to deliver on. Do over-deliver, that is, make your content shine and promote it hard so that the brand really sees the value in what you're doing. Gather the results, that is, share performance metrics with the sponsor and get them to share their metrics with you as well. And propose the next step. Once the campaign is out there, then it's time to explore things like multi-term, multi-month or year-long partnerships, bundled ads, exclusive segments, those kinds of things. Now, the longer the deal term lasts, there's more predictability for both sides. So that is sort of the goal. Just make sure that the contract will scale with the relationship. As the term goes longer, the compensation should go up as well. So lock in rates or include escalator clauses to make sure that you're being compensated appropriately for the value you bring. Update the usage rights and deliverables from time to time. Negotiate bonuses for hitting certain milestones or performance objectives. Remember, you are not just the talent here. You are a partner. So at the end of the day, this all comes down to having a good relationship and documenting it in a really good contract. Your agreement should protect your content and your time. It should protect your reputation and, above all, your revenue, so that if the brand they have to pay you. If the brand sends their contract over, that can be fine as a starting point, but don't be afraid to push back, ask for what you want, negotiate, and protect your interests. It's okay to say no to a bad deal, and in fact, you'll be glad you did. Much happier saying no to a bad deal than getting into it and then regretting it later on. And listen, if you want help with things like this, inside my Easy Legal for Podcasters program, I walk you through exactly how to negotiate deals like a pro. You'll find sample contracts for sponsorships and other affiliate relationships and things like that you can easily adapt to your needs. If you'd like a sneak peek of that, check out my secret video. It's a full sample lesson on contracts from inside the course. It's free, and it could save you from making some really costly and headache-inducing mistakes. Head on over to gordonfiremark.com/level up to check that out. And if you're ready to take the next step with brand deals, you can get my free exclusive brand deal checklist. It's a free guide you can get. Just head on over to branddealchecklist.com. You'll find everything in there you need to know how to lock in your value, protect your content, and grow your podcast like a real business. And if you need forms and templates, podcastlawforms.com is your place. So don't wing it. And don't settle for handshake deals. You've worked too hard to leave things like that to chance. Get it in writing. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Legit Podcast Pro. If you found this helpful, I hope you'll hit like and drop a comment and share with another creator who is ready to level up. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, helping you build a podcast that's powerful, profitable, and as legit as it comes. I'll see you next time.